It's not about politics. It's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. We're just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
I just get in and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to It's Just Football. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Mike Renner. Getting you guys' weekend started off the right way. Mike, you know, the intro to the show is David Montgomery saying, we're going to run the ball, we're going to pass the ball, we're just going to play football, really. Somebody should have told the Colts and the Broncos that last night. Because, you know, Aaron Rodgers even says in the intro, it's a simple game. They're making it a lot more complex of a game than it needs to be from what we saw last night, buddy.
Still waiting for them to start playing football. Let's be real. Like that was pretty brutal. You know, that was, and we kind of knew it going in, right? Like we had said, these are teams with playoff aspirations, but they haven't played a interesting game all season long, or at least like, you know, a fun football game. And so when they met, they may have played the least fun football game we've seen all season. That was tough.
The tweets, though.
Yeah.
Immaculate last night. Absolutely fantastic. Anytime there is a terrible sporting event that we can all unite on in the timeline, the takes fly, the jokes fly. It was a beautiful time. Indianapolis Colts get the overtime dub. What an incredible performance. A gutsy performance from the Indianapolis Colts. 12-9. Brother, our question of the day yesterday was who scores the first touchdown, and nobody scored a damn touchdown in the game.
Know. Yeah, little did we know.
Oh, man, it's too much. Quinn, getting you guys in the production suite at the end of the show, I hope we have a different type of question of the day because it was a flop yesterday. And it was nothing on you guys, but we didn't even get a real answer. We had all, you know, people in the chat. They said, oh, this guy, he'll be the first touchdown. I'm going to be so smart. I'm going to log back onto this show. I'm going to get in the chat, and I'm going to brag about how right I was. Nobody was right.
No, but we did get a good question of the day today out of it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it?
So trying to stay topical, Russell Wilson had 4 turnover-worthy plays last night. What is his single-game career high for turnover-worthy plays?
Oh, Russell Wilson accounted for 4 turnover-worthy plays last night. I love the music. Love the music. What is Wilson's career high for turnover-worthy plays in a single game? That is our question of the day.
That's tough. I'm trying to think of like standout bad performances from Wilson over the course of his career.
I'm going to go 6.
It has to be semi-recently, right?
Go
because
6.
They really didn't let him pass early on in his career. You know, when it was Legion of Boom years, 30 dropbacks in a game would be a lot for him. So they were a run-heavy team back then.
But clearly,
so
4 was not a career
not
high.
Not quite there.
I'm going to go 6.
I'll say 5. 6 is a lot. I'll say 5.
6 is a lot.
Yeah.
I was actually looking up these stats because I was previewing the Chiefs-Raiders game, and Derek Carr had 5 turnover-worthy plays in that terrible Chargers game that he played at the beginning of the year. And I thought that was bad, and that was only 5.
Yeah.
6 would be a lot. It'd be terrible.
Yeah, that would be really bad. I'm going to go 5. I think I'll say 5.
You know what? I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to go 6. Nicholas said 11. It's probably not that.
That was Nathan Peterman. That was Nathan Peterman. You guys.
Although I would love a follow-up question of the day. Obviously, you guys don't have to do this right now, but like a future question of the day, what's the most turnover-worthy plays in a single game in PFF history?
That's tough. I mean, Peterman against the Chargers, right, was a ton. Probably like 7, 8. I know Fitzmagic has had some games where he's gone down swinging.
Yeah, but what a way to go down.
Exactly. Who else had some real rough games? Manning had a game there in his
Peyton?
Yeah, remember in his last year where he just went off the rails.
Oh, like the noodle arm was showing up.
Oh,
could Breeze no? There's no way Breeze put the ball in harm's way.
Breeze didn't start throwing it left and right. I don't know. That's a good one. We should look that up.
Jameis?
I'm gonna look it up.
Jameis. He's probably got to be up there in the conversation, you know?
Okay,
this is very interesting. Okay, you're going to start looking it up. You're probably pretty quick with it. We're going to recap Thursday Night Football in some ways, but we're going to do so by refreshing the timeline. I mentioned how great the timeline was. Our first clip that we have has to do with a Broncos player. It's Garrett Bowles, but it was actually what he was wearing to the stadium. This was A+. This is how you turn becoming a meme into something positive. If you guys remember last week, there was it the pick six or was I think it was a
Fumble six.
Fumble
Meek
six.
Robinson fumble
Yeah, Meek Robinson picked it up, took it back, scored a touchdown. Garrett Bowles is at the end of the play, he's the only guy who has a chance to make contact with him. And he didn't really have a chance.
Let's not call it a chance, yeah.
And he did the thing where like you press the tackle button in Madden when you have no chance of getting to the guy, and he basically like dove 5 yards in front of him. And so he obviously wore a shirt. It shows him diving, not even getting close to the tackler, but it says never give up. What a great phrase too.
Yeah, and put a positive spin on it.
Yeah.
You lost the game. It was a tragic L. That was a massive reason why they lost, the Melvin Gordon fumble. But at least you got, the memories.
Yeah.
The memories along the way. That's what you're going to remember.
I always
Bulls
love that.
10 years from now. Not that you lost that game.
I'd love to
because you're going to lose a lot more this season.
I'd love to get that shirt. If they're selling that shirt, I'd love to get it. Well, I want to give a shout out to Daniel Sauter, who was the chat champ yesterday, now officially in the chat today. So we got Daniel in the chat rocking with us. Going back to how many turnover-worthy plays is the record for Russell Wilson in his career. We got a lot of 7 and 6s. I think 6 feels like that's the answer that everybody's going with. Only one other person I think went with 5 with you.
So,
Oh.
back to 2015.
Oh, you haven't?
The most in a game since then.
Okay.
Can't go back any further
Without your computer crashing.
Yeah. But this one's going to be tough to top. I'll look behind 2015 in a second here.
Okay, what was it?
I've mentioned the name. It is Ryan Fitzpatrick with the Jets, 2016 against the Chiefs. 9 turnover-worthy plays. He threw 6 picks in that game.
Holy cow.
9 turnover-worthy plays. Fitzmagic.
I need to go back and just what year was this?
2016 against the Chiefs.
Okay, I'm gonna go back and look this up because I just want to see the beauty that is him
tough.
continue. Like they say that corners got to have a short-term memory.
Yeah.
You're throwing 9 turnover-worthy plays.
No memory. You're a memento. You're,
Zero recollection of everything that happened on the play before. Okay, let's fast forward a little bit. Let's refresh the timeline again. Let's fast forward to the interception in the end zone for the Broncos.
Yeah.
The end of the fourth quarter. Could have ended up winning them the game. If you're a Seahawks fan, I know you're probably flying high this morning looking at all the Russ dunking, but probably brought up some bad memories because it was a slant pass that was intercepted in the end zone, as was the Malcolm Butler interception to lose that one Super Bowl. And there was one particular former player who was on the desk for Thursday Night Football who was in the house to watch that. It was Richard Sherman, who just said, flashbacks.
The irony then being the 4th down in overtime, 4th and 1, they run slant flat, the play they ran in the Super Bowl.
And he was open.
Doesn't throw it.
And
he's open, and he doesn't throw it there. Now, that play was not the same concept that they ran in the Super Bowl, that the Malcolm Butler pick, but it was never should have been thrown. It felt like Russell Wilson said to himself in the huddle, I'm going to win this game before the play even happened. It felt like he's like, I don't want to put it on a kicker. I've been getting clowned on Twitter all year. I'm going to go out and make a play, and people are going to shut everyone up, is what it felt like. Because that wasn't, you're forcing the ball in Stephon Gilmore's coverage.
Right.
In the end zone.
Why would you go over
late
after Stephon Gilmore?
Yeah.
Who already picked you off?
Yeah, it was
bad read.
egregious.
It was bad play.
Egregious.
KJ Hamler, I'm sure you guys saw as well, slamming the helmet on the ground after the game. He was pissed that the ball didn't come his way because he was open, and that was the read. That's where it should have gone. And Richard Sherman had some more fun on Twitter, posting the GIF of his facial reaction when they throw the pick in the Super Bowl, and then he was kind of freaking out on the desk afterwards. Give the ball to a running back. It's 1 yard. Just pick up the 1 yard. So Richard Sherman, some unfortunate flashbacks for the end of that game there. Last refresh timeline I have. This bet that we have, because of how the game ended up, is insane. This person placed $100 on no touchdown scorers in this game and won $100,000. Or is it $10,000? Which one is it? $10,000.
Yeah.
$100, no touchdown scorer. We were sitting here question of the day yesterday. Who's going to be the first? And that's the common thing, right? Who's going to score the first touchdown? It's a common bet. This guy says, nope, nobody's scoring. Both these teams suck ass. $10,000. Boom. There it is.
Love it. That's the kind you dream about, where you're like, you place that bet and you're like, haha, we'll see. Like, what if, right? And then it comes to fruition. That never happened to me, but that would be pretty sick.
Do you ever bet again at that point? Or is that like the last bet that you make?
I feel like you ride that one. You put $100 every week on that then, probably is what you're doing.
If you could ever hit it again?
You chase, yeah.
It's
chase
like
that feeling.
it's like in roulette. If it ever hits green, you just go like, oh, I'm just putting a little bit on green every time now.
Yeah. You have like your number then that you pick out every time.
I feel like
I was going to say, I found 2 more people who have 9 turnover-worthy plays in a game dating back to, so 3 guys.
Okay, let's hear it.
3 players.
Okay.
Do you have a guess as to who the other 2 may be?
Are they're
both in 2006.
Oh,
so a hint there.
I have no idea who would have been in 2006. No.
These are household names, to a degree. One for the wrong reasons. One for a couple Super Bowls.
I don't know. I'm just going to be circling. I'm going to be circling around.
We got Eli Manning.
See, I never would have got Eli Manning.
9 turnover plays against the Jaguars in 2006.
Smokes.
And then we got Rex Grossman. 9 turnover plays against the Dolphins in 2006. He was a connoisseur of the turnover-worthy play. He perfected the turnover-worthy play to an art in his time in the NFL. Rex Grossman.
Gator great, though.
Yeah, well, in the NFL, not at Florida. I can't speak to that, but I can speak to his time with the Chicago Bears, and it was poop. And I loved it.
All right. That was good. That was quick work by you.
Thank you.
You're a master of PFF Ultimate to get that.
I tried. Born in it.
Brock was guessing Rivers in 06. Could have been.
Rivers had some go-down swinging games. That's for damn sure.
He said. Brock
also usually it was just like 1 pick.
He said Eli. Daniel guessed Schaub. I almost guessed Matt Schaub, but I didn't think he'd had 9. Like, I didn't think that he was that kind of quarterback to throw up 9.
He was the -2 connoisseur. He didn't have a ton of picks, but when he did, they were the worst picks possible.
Right.
They were as bad a read as you could
That's
possibly make on a play.
That was the first name that came to my head, but I was like, he didn't throw 9. It's not 9, so I wouldn't have had a good guess there. All right, Eli Manning and Rex Grossman. Anyways, well, first game of Week 5 is over, and we don't have to watch that ever again, which is fantastic. But what about some other games that we have on the slate for this week? Let's take a look at some of the early lines, some of the games that we got coming up. Steelers at Bills. Kenny Pickett on the road. The teeth of the Bills defense. It's not great.
Yeah, that's throwing him to the wolves. That's for damn sure. You hate to see it. It's unfortunate for him, but that's a toughie right out the gate. Not a lot. Not as like dynamic of a slate, I think, as we saw last week in terms of like heavyweight bouts, playoff team versus playoff team. Where I'm probably watching this week, Dolphins at Jets. I want to see Zach Wilson.
That is a really intriguing matchup.
I want to see Zach Wilson. Yep. I want to see what they do with the backup quarterback. And then also probably Bengals-Ravens. That one's pretty obvious. AFC North, probably title sort of matchup there.
I'm looking forward to Jags-Texans because the Jags are sitting there. They're a touchdown favorite. The Jags are in a spot that they just haven't been in a long time. And this is a Texans team that, although I don't think it's just a poorly coached team, the Jags should be able to handle them. Can they? They're coming off of a loss at Philadelphia. Can you bounce back? Can you be a good team right off of a loss like that? This is kind of a barometer game for the Jags about how for real they are for me, depending on what happens there. I think Cowboys and Rams is super intriguing. We'll get to that with my with some of my bold predictions that we're going to get to in a second. But that Cowboys defensive line going against the Rams offensive line. Rams are 5.5-point favorites. I understand, but I feel like the major matchups are swinging the Cowboys' way in that one. So 5.5 feels a little rich.
Parsons against those tackles.
Not great.
Hello.
Not great. Bengals-Ravens.
Yeah.
That feels like the best one. That feels like the game of the week.
Yeah. To have it on Sunday night, well done. Much better than, what are we getting? We're getting 2 more Broncos primetime games coming up here in the next 2 weeks.
Don't they play on Monday again?
Yeah.
Don't they play on Monday again next week?
I think within the next 3 weeks they have 2 more primetime games. So we're getting subject to the Russ Wilson experience.
NFL's just force feeding us the Russ narrative.
Did you see him say Broncos country, let's ride after his postgame press conference?
Yeah,
like a robot.
It was sad. It was sad, man. I'm starting to feel bad for the guy.
I'm not. I kind of been saying it for a while. So
he's got to get paid money for the Broncos country let's ride thing, right?
It's a good question.
Right.
Did he trademark it? Well, I think he did.
And that's my thing. Like, he's got to get paid for it because that is not a situation. Even if you are believing in the best of Russell Wilson and you are saying, oh, like he's always looking at the positive side, like we're spinning things positively. You don't say Broncos country, let's ride after that interview, after that question.
Yeah.
You don't.
Well, I don't.
So I feel like he's got to be getting paid for it because he was like Broncos country, and then he like walked off and he's just like, let's ride.
Yeah.
Like it was sad, man. I don't like watching this. You guys like watching it. I don't like watching it.
I'm cringe. I enjoy cringe.
No, it's just like a train wreck over and over. You guys are sick.
It is. I mean, it is like a little
sickos.
like, I like watching. I can't say other things I like watching, but yeah.
Yeah, why don't you calm down here? I know it's a Friday. We're not letting that loose. Let's talk about some bold predictions. I teased it there. We give you guys some bold predictions on the upcoming slate every single week in the NFL. Mike, I'll start with you. What is your first bold prediction?
It's the game you highlighted, Jacksonville Jaguars going to the Texans. Trevor Lawrence, 4 touchdowns.
Ooh.
Never had 4 touchdowns in a game. Trevor Lawrence going to light up the scoreboard. Going to finally, this is kind of the game where it's like, okay, Trevor. I was going to say it's him, but I can't do that. Trevor is like.
I thought you were talking to me.
Trevor's there. Trevor's arrived. This is going to be the Trevor arrived game.
Trevor lore him. That doesn't work.
No,
it doesn't work. Trev him? No, it doesn't work.
Trevor and Lorem?
No, we need to move on. That one doesn't work. I'd love to see 4 touchdowns. Yeah. I would love to see 4 touchdowns. I think that there's obviously they have some talent in coverage. They have Derek Stingley. They have Jalen Petrie. They have some guys who have played well at times, haven't played together fully as a unit. It's more flashes than it is consistent play. But
yeah,
I'd love to see 4 touchdowns from them. I think that would be great. And going back to what I was saying when we were looking at the lines there, that is a matchup that I really would love to see the Jags dominate. This is a team that you are better than. Go handle business. You are a touchdown favorite. Make it happen. First one I got. I think Cooper Rush stays undefeated this week. Undefeated as a starting quarterback. Cowboys, 5.5 points. They're getting 5.5 points in this one. I know that it's a quarterback-driven league and it's Matthew Stafford versus Cooper Rush, but let's take the renown and the fame of the names out of it. Cowboys are playing better. They're playing better to what their identity is right now. Now, they're not rushing the ball nearly as well as they would like to. I get that, but Cooper Rush is playing good football. The offensive line's blocking well. And most importantly, like I said when we were looking at the original list of games, the Cowboys are 3rd in the NFL right now in pass rush win rate. They've got Micah Parsons. DeMarcus Lawrence is a monster. Neville Gallimore is flash, right? They've got so many guys, it feels like, on that defensive line, even that lost Randy Gregory from a year ago. And the Rams' offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL. They've got 2 weeks where they have given up the most pressures of any team in the league. It is a bad recipe for them. And when Matthew Stafford has been pressured this season, things have not looked good. So I think that is the major matchup to look forward to. And I think Dallas Cowboys win this game. That's my bold prediction. Not even taking the numbers, I think Dallas Cowboys win this football game.
I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's crazy.
So that's my bold prediction.
You got, Jason Peters has only allowed 1 pressure since returning. You got Zach Martin on the other side, like uniquely suited to maybe slow down the one guy on the Rams defensive line that you really got to worry about, Aaron Donald. So I don't hate it.
We got some bold predictions in the chat. Ryan says the him stuff is over. It's absolutely not.
We got like at least another week to milk it.
Walt says Cooper Rush is a good QB. Good in all caps. Good.
He's a QB.
He does play quarterback. Dude,
I'll give you
the
last part. He's definitely a quarterback.
Walt said it's not that bold to say that the Cowboys are going to win.
Yeah.
They're 5.5. They're 5.5 point dogs.
Yeah,
they're on the road. Come on, you got to give it to
right now as
Walt.
we speak.
Randall said Teddy Bridgewater, highest graded quarterback of the week. Ooh.
That's bold.
That is bold.
That one's bold.
Starter Kit says Zach Wilson would throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Bolder. We're getting bolder.
It is bolder.
Dame Pierce, 150 and 2 tutties.
150? I love to see
I got
it.
the under on his receiving prop already, so receiving rushing prop.
Daniel, the chat champ, says Lamar regains top dog status for MVP. Well, that doesn't go along with my bold prediction, which is I think the Bengals
win.
are going to win the game, and they're going to be in sole possession of the AFC North after this week. I think the Bengals are rolling. I really do. I think their offense is getting into a groove. I think they're rolling a little bit better. And we've seen them put up a decent amount of points even without Jamar Chase playing the way that he can. And I think that this week they really get things going between him and T. Higgins. I think that this offense is going to be humming once again. The rush game is something that we're going to have Olivia Ray on the show. She covers the Cincinnati Bengals at the end of the program, and we'll kind of ask her about this. But the run game and how much they want to run the football versus how effective they are, not great, but I'd love to hear kind of her insights on what might be changing, if anything's going to change. So you guys got to stick around for that. But I think that's my other bold prediction there. So Got another one? You got anything else?
No, that's just that. Just T-Law.
All right, T-Law getting 4 touchdowns. Let's do. Let's head to some fantasy football. We do this every week on Friday. We have Ian Hartitz on the show, the one and only, to answer your start-sit questions and also talk about some of his favorite start-sit players. We got the Michael Irvin jersey in the background this time. We love to see it. Ian, how you doing, my friend?
Great day to be great as always, fellas. And my bold prediction is going to be Dalvin Cook, 200-plus yards and a pair of touchdowns against that Bears defense that, I know, we're not too afraid of it. But, hey, Dalvin Cook hasn't had a big game yet, so what better week than now?
Love it, love it. All right, everybody, fire off your start-sit questions that you got in fantasy football. We'll get to those in a minute after we ask Ian some questions about some specific players. First one I want to bring to the table, Ian, Jeff Wilson, man. You have been when we've done these start sits and anybody's like, oh, this player, or Jeff Wilson. A lot of times you've been like, yeah, Jeff Wilson's kind of the guy. You should probably be starting him. I know you got him on your start list again this week. So how high is the ceiling for Jeff Wilson, the Niners running back?
It is interesting in San Francisco because, like any other backfield in the league, if one running back was dominating the usage like Jeff Wilson is here, then they'd be like a legit top 12 option every week. But because Debo's still involved, because Kyle Juszczyk, has to do Kyle Juszczyk things, we still see Jeff Wilson kind of in the RB2 territory. But yeah, guys, 3 straight weeks now where he's had 20, 15, and 18 touches in a 49ers offense that, no, hasn't looked great, but I think they're going to be a little bit better in the 27th ranked scoring unit, as we get more of a sample size with this still young season. So Elijah Mitchell still very much an IR. Tyrion Davis-Price dealing with a high ankle sprain. Tevin Coleman is now playing over, everyone's favorite rookie Jordan Mason at this point. So it really is the Jeff Wilson show. He looks good out there. We had to worry a little bit about the doghouse after that late game fumble against the Broncos. Wasn't a problem at all last week. Jeff Wilson, again, most close start sit questions, I'm going to lean towards the volume, and not many running backs are touching the ball more than Jeff Wilson right now.
Chris Olave obviously had a massive start to his rookie season, but uncertainty at the quarterback position last week, didn't have near the deep air yards that he was getting when Jameis Winston was on the field. What's the outlook for him this week?
He's number 1 in the NFL in air yards, but he's also top 10 in just real-life receiving yards as well. So it is wild to think that Chris Olave, already a top 20 fantasy wide receiver, there's been a lot of meat left on the bone there, and that was especially with Jameis, to your point. But even last week, man, there was a play where Harrison Smith, I know he doesn't mess up much, but he did take, a couple steps inside, and Olave had several steps on Patrick Peterson outside. Unfortunately, Andy Dalton decided to throw the ball into the first row of the stands over there in London. So I don't think it's going to be, the smoothest quarterback situation for him, regardless of who's under center. And it doesn't matter. The guy is really building a fantasy-friendly factory, high target share and high average target depth, so you don't really need him to be the most efficient player in the world. So Chris Olave, especially with Michael Thomas looking like he's going to be out again, once again, majority of fantasy lineups, he should be starting it.
You've got Stafford on your sit list. I mean, I just kind of went over the pressures that the Rams have given up already this season, how they're going up against a stout Cowboys defensive line. Is that the reason for it, or is there something else here with Matthew Stafford that you don't like?
That's pretty much the main one, man. Every week I have my mismatch manifesto on PFF.com. I combine, stats from the offense and the defense, so we get one-way metrics instead of always having to do this two side of the street thing. But the easily worst setup quarterback in terms of the pressure rate from their offensive line and the opposing defensive line is Matthew Stafford, and that dead last ranked Rams offensive line in PFF pass blocking grade. So hey, it's been fine for Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's actually averaging more fantasy points per game this year than he did last year, but everyone else, man, just been brutal, particularly Stafford himself. QB 30, QB 10, and then QB 29 over these past 2 weeks. So once again, it's one of these things where when I look at the Rams offense, do we really think they're going to be this bottom 3, bottom 5 scoring unit for the rest of the season? No, but for now, in this matchup against Micah Parsons and company, I would really be trying to find a better quarterback option. Even guys like Jared Goff, Geno Smith, give me them over Stafford this week.
So Zeke Elliott has obviously been the lead dog in that Dallas Cowboys running room, but it hasn't really translated to a ton of production for him. Nearly 15 carries a game, a lot of targets in that offense. Are we thinking that's going to turn around anytime soon, or are we still worried about his production?
I think once Dak gets back, with all due respect to the commenter that was saying Cooper Rush is good in all caps, maybe take the caps lock off on that one. He's been fine, but I don't think we're looking at an offense that is going to be flirting with those 30, 40-point outbursts that Zeke really needs at this point in his career to be able to put up big time fantasy points. So it felt weird, putting Zeke outside the top 29, actually having his fantasy ranking in the 30s for one of the first times I can ever remember putting him there. But against this defensive line in an offense that's implied to score under 20 points, if you just look at the spread and the game total here, I don't think Ezekiel Elliott is someone that needs to be jammed into fantasy lineups the same way that we're used to in the past. So once Dak does get back, it's going to help lift everyone else in this offense. Hopefully he's fully healthy when he comes back. But the other big thing for Zeke, guys, it's not even just been him being that bad. I mean, 3.9 yards per carry, obviously not great, but he's also averaging a career low 1.1 yards before contact. So in past years, I think this beastly Cowboys offensive line could help lift him up a little bit. But with Tyron Smith out, with Zach Martin getting banged up a little bit last week, the losing La'el Collins in the offseason, just hasn't really been the same sort of gaping holes we've been used to making fun of Zeke for not making more out of.
All right, the last one I got, and I just want to mention for everybody who's watching the show, the screenshots that you see on the side, that's right from the PFF app. So if you guys are asking your start-sit questions, if we don't get to them, you can use the start-sit tool if you have an Apple device by going to PFF in the App Store, downloaded it, and you can get all those tools right in front of you, right in the palm of your hand. Last one, you've got on here non-Mike Williams Chargers receivers on your sit list. So I wanted to hear you expound upon that a little bit. They're playing the Cleveland Browns this week. How do you see this game playing out, and why is this on your sit list?
Guys, we're football guys, right? Even if you
like to think
me
so,
a lot, and you don't think you think my predictions are shit and stuff, I think we can at least admit that we all watch a lot of football here. I had never heard the name Michael Bandy until I was looking over the Chargers snaps from last week to find out that both DeAndre Carter and Josh Palmer are now unusable in fantasy football because of Michael freaking Bandy. So with all due respect to the Bandy family and what he can bring to the table, he did have 2 nice catches on some nice honey hole balls from Justin Herbert down the sideline. But Josh Palmer was someone that, whether Keenan Allen or Mike Williams was out, was consistently giving us wide receiver 3 production. And when you have these injuries in your lineups, you're in these 12-14 team leagues, that was useful. Even DeAndre Carter was someone that, just by the mere fact that he's on the field a lot with Justin Herbert, you could wrap your mind around. But no, we can't have these complementary wide receiver rotations and expect much from anything. Also, with Josh Palmer being a little bit banged up during practice, maybe explaining the rotation in the first place, it's Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, and that's it right now, man. Even Gerald Everett with this midweek hamstring injury, unfortunately, we need to worry about how much involvement he's going to have because they probably have Donald Parham back in the picture. So we have a couple of these offenses, Kansas City as well. We have Mahomes and Travis Kelce, kind of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and after that, you're not feeling good. It's just annoying when we have truly a top 5 offense. Like Justin Herbert leads the NFL in passing yards right now, and we can only get behind 2 of the guys in the offense. So hopefully Keenan gets back sooner rather than later. For now, only Mike Williams and Austin Eckler.
All right, you want to do some start sit?
Let's do some start sit.
All right, fire it off. I'll let you pick the first one from the chat.
All right, first one from the chat. We're going to go Miles Sanders or Josh Jacobs.
2 guys just making the absolute most out of those early down rolls. I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs just by a hair. I do think that he has the overall higher volume ceiling. With Miles Sanders, they are still going to be pulling him off the field in favor of Kenneth Gainwell from time to time. I haven't seen Boston Scott's specific game designation yet. We'll get that here in a couple hours, but that was the sneaky big factor for Miles Sanders. We were able to condense that backfield from 3 to 2 last week without Boston Scott in the picture. So I will take Josh Jacobs though. 89% snaps, guys. They were finally just throwing the ball a little bit. I thought when Josh McDaniels went to Vegas, it was going to turn into New England Southwest, just 3-4 back committees from hell one week after another. But it's already down to 2 in Las Vegas. And shout out Josh Jacobs, man. Top 5 in yards after contact per carry. I believe only Nick Chubb and Christian McCaffrey have higher PFF rushing grades. Dude's been a treat to watch with the ball in his hands.
You can only choose one. This one's from Abel Fed. He said you can only choose one here, okay? T. Higgins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, or DK Metcalf.
Kind of league man here, 4 men. I'm gonna lean towards DK Metcalf.
I always love asking fantasy people these questions of really good players because just to watch them get angry and be like, "What kind of league are you in? Like, what is this amateur?" Just
bro, I mean, it's just one of those things where, like, this person clearly knows they have a loaded team. They're only asking the question so they can kind of show off to everyone, hey, look how good my team is over here. But with DK Metcalf, man, it really is just the only reason he was as cheap as he was in fantasy drafts was because of the idea that Geno Smith was going to be one of the league's worst quarterbacks. Like, it wasn't even a bad quarterback. It was one of the worst because we were still on guys like Brandon Cooks, you know, playing with Davis Mills, Drake London playing with Marcus Mariota. But with Metcalf and Lockett, it was just like everyone expected Geno Smith to be the guy we saw in 2013. I don't know how many games Geno Smith has to play at a high level at this point to be called a good quarterback again. But regardless, man, over the past 2 years, at least at this moment in time, Geno Smith has been really freaking good. And even if he's going to regress a bit from that, I still think we're looking at an average to below average passing game, which is all we need for a player of DK Metcalf's caliber. So DK Metcalf, a weekly wide receiver 1 moving forward. But man, you got T. Higgins and Amon-Ra St. Brown as well. Get all these guys in your lineup unless you got, you know, freaking Jamar Chase and Devontae Adams ahead of them. But it is what it is. It's a very good problem to have. Let's put it that way.
All right, one more. You got one more for us?
Yeah, I got one more.
Okay.
Garrett Wilson or Terry McLaurin?
Oh, this is the one that I would have asked. Good choice.
I am going to lean Terry just because we do have Jahan Dotson probably missing some time with that hamstring injury. So the Carson Wentz roller coaster, you know, we've certainly been on the low end of things over these past 2 weeks, but still nobody has more dropbacks this season than Carson Wentz in the third most pass happy offense just on a per play rate in the Washington Commanders. So they've been bad. I do wonder how long that Carson Wentz leash is at this point. But when we take that, you know, again, down from 3 to 2, getting only Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin, I'll take that over a Jets offense where I love the Garrett Wilson talent. I say some, you know, just Ohio's typical ignorant Ohio State fan almost every single week on this podcast. But Corey Davis, guys, leads the Jets in receiving yards right now. Mainstream media won't talk about it, but unfortunately, man, this Jets wide receiver core, it's a lot more crowded than what's going on in Washington. And, you know, Zach Wilson, as much as that Miami secondary has been burnable, it's one of those things where I hope Zach Wilson can get that ball off, because if he can't, it could be a long day against that blitz-happy defense.
Big football media refuses to talk about it, but that's why we have Ian Hartitz on the show here so he can scream it through a megaphone. Ian, thank you as always, my friend. Great stuff.
Thank you, guys. Sparty's dead.
Weekly. It's okay. What's he going to end the show with? How's he going to go after whoever Ohio State is playing?
We didn't have him on before the Notre Dame game, right? So he did. I don't think he talked trash for the Notre Dame game.
I thought we did have him on before the Notre Dame game, but he didn't say anything to you.
I think it was after. I think we had him on for week 1 NFL. Right? There was no NFL going, so yeah.
No, it's a good point. No, it's a good point.
I would have cried.
It's a good point. All right, looking back over the schedule, I want to highlight a couple of more games here because we got into the weeds a little bit when we have the full schedule up there. I'm looking at Lions-Patriots, man, and I just want to talk about this game a little bit. Lions' worst defense in the NFL. They're giving up more points, more yards than anybody. They're making it look way easier than it needs to be. They lead the NFL in scoring, points per game, and yet they are 1-3. They're going up against a beaten up 1-3 Patriots team. This one's in Foxborough. Mike, does this feel like if Detroit can't look better this week, when are they ever going to look better? Because that's kind of how I feel.
Because Axel Hoyer's on IR, right? So
Axel, yes.
Brian's.
How would you go by Brian if your name is Axel?
That one, I just learned that a couple weeks ago, and that blew my mind. But Axel's on IR. And so it's going to be the rookie, right? Mac Jones is like limited at practice still. It's going to be Bailey Zappi. And so if you can't shut down Bailey Zappi, I know the Packers struggle to touch, but if you can't shut down that, knowing this is going to be a one-dimensional run-happy team, it's over. This Lions defense ain't figuring it out anytime soon if that's the case.
Raiders-Chiefs. It's the other one I want to talk about. This is the Monday night game. This is the primetime game this week. So before we get Broncos back on our primetime, we actually get Raiders-Chiefs. Do you have any faith in the Raiders at all here? Raiders no longer in the winless column. They get their first win. I don't think I said that right, but do you have any faith here for the Raiders? It's a divisional matchup. These teams know each other well. No, none.
No, I go back to just the coaching aspect. You know, the Andy Reid's Chiefs offense is not going to stay down for long. It's not going to have lulls that last more than a half a game, and the Raiders don't have the talent defensively to really exploit this Chiefs offense. So I could see them putting up points. I could see it being a little bit of a shootout. I could see them covering, but winning this game outright, it's, you know, compared to some of the other lines, some of the other like 7-point touchdown sort of dogs, this is one of my least favorite.
I mean, I feel like the X factor for me is, can the Chiefs keep Darren Waller at bay for another week? Because Waller hasn't exactly had the season that people wanted him to. Certainly fantasy football people that drafted Darren Waller very high. A lot of those targets are going to Devontae Adams. We thought that would be the case. But I went back and I watched all of Darren Waller's targets. They're still using him all over the place. I mean, he's playing outside, he's playing inline, he's playing in the slot, and he is getting open. Like, he is playing well. I feel like that big-time breakout game, or at least a better stretch of the season, is coming for Darren Waller. But if that comes this week, that's about the only reason why I think the Raiders might have a chance in the scoreboard. Outside of that, I think I'm with you. It's the Chiefs are rolling. That Colts game should have never been a loss. This team could have very well been undefeated. Like, I think that's really the only way that the Raiders end up winning this game. Walt is saying to us in the chat, we got to talk about Chargers versus Cleveland Brown. He's saying, will Nick Chubb go off?
I tend to think so.
I feel like Nick Chubb goes off every week, though. He's leading the NFL in rushing.
I pimped him out in my props column every week. Make sure you go read it. It's actually up a few units on the year if you would have been trailing my bets. But the props column.
Units, listen to you.
I called out his over-receiving prop because this Chargers linebacker core, 24th ranked graded linebacker core in the NFL, and they've given up the fourth most yards of screens of any team in the NFL this year because those linebackers are the weak link of the defense. So I do think you're going to see them. I do think you're going to see Nick Chubb go off as a rusher and possibly as a receiver.
I feel like he does every week. Will the Carolina Panthers cross the 50-yard line against the San Francisco 49ers this week?
I also highlighted Baker Mayfield's under touchdown prop because...
What was it, 0.5?
0.5.
No way, I was joking.
It is 0.5. He has won in every single game this year, but he's going up against the top defense in EPA per play.
Baker.
The top defense in EPA per play going against the worst offense in EPA per play. Something's got to give. Actually, no, it's not something's got to give. It's something's going to play right into each other's hands, and I don't see the. I'd be surprised if the Panthers scored a touchdown. I just would be. They're not built. They're not built to move the ball.
You know, I on the NFL Stock Exchange podcast that I do with Connor Rogers, we had some like quarterly awards, and at the very end, we did like the MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, all that, and then at the end we had. If you had to pick who's getting the number one overall selection right now, who do you think it is?
Texans.
You think it's
I still
Texans?
think it's the Texans.
Okay. Why? You just think talent overall?
Yes. They don't have anything to turn around. You know, we've been talking about all these bad teams, like, oh, could they turn around? There's no like gear that they're missing. There's no like player that's like, oh, he's just having a down year. It's like, no, they have actually, like Laramie Tunsil's playing electric. You know, some of their guys that are their best players are actually playing fine. They just don't have talent. So that's why.
See, I think that
easy division though. Like they could sneak wins out in that division.
See, I think so too, and I pick Carolina.
Yeah, that's not.
And the reason why I pick Carolina is because Carolina feels like they're at a point where they're really at this tipping point of how bad are things going to get. Because with Matt Rule, I cannot understand if players really still believe in what's going on in Carolina with Matt Rule, given the statistics against them, given how they played, how they cannot get wins, whether they're close wins or blowout losses, whatever it is. I don't know how you continue to have faith in that current regime. So I feel like apathy is going to set in, and they're just going to start to really... Not that these guys aren't going to be professionals. They're going to do their jobs. I don't mean to say that part of it. But you know what I'm saying. I feel like they're going to give up on their coach. And then if they give up on their coach, you're losing a lot more games than you thought anyways. There's no savior coming in at quarterback. It kind of seems like it is what it is. And then if they fire Matt Rule in the middle of the year, well, then all of a sudden this thing has the chance to go off the rails.
So they got upcoming, obviously the 49ers this week. Rams next week. Bucks the week after that. I don't see Rule making it through that stretch. You know, by the time they play the Falcons at the end of the month, I think they're going to have a different head coach because I don't think they have a chance of winning those 3 games.
And that is why I feel like
could go off the rails.
It could just go totally off the rails in Carolina, and they could end up with the number one overall pick if things get that ugly. Now, if things also get that ugly, wholesale changes, right? Obviously, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold you think are gone. Matt Rule would be gone. I think Scott Fitter is probably gone at that spot as well. So I think David Tepper is going to have a lot of meetings, a lot of interviews that he's going to be doing for his next potential quarterback, his next potential head coach, his next potential general manager. So, you available?
Special GM. I got time on the side.
Does that mean Matt Rule's going to do the show with me?
I already do all the scouting.
So
you're still going to do the show then?
Yeah.
Duh.
Okay, so you do the show in the morning, and then you'll run the Carolina Panthers in the afternoon.
Yeah. Propaganda arm.
I can the bias will be flowing. I mentioned that the game that we're looking forward to the most, it's that AFC North matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. And we want to talk about that game. We want to get in depth with that game. And so to do so, we're going to have somebody who knows the team even a lot better than we do. We have Olivia Ray on us right now, with us right now, who works at WLWT here in Cincinnati, covering the Bengals. Olivia, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. I can't fully show. I'm a little underdressed today, but it's homecoming week for my Hoosiers, so I had to rep them today. I can't do it on air in Cincinnati, so I had to do it here.
Well, you can do it here. Mike reps his terrible Notre Dame team plenty of times, so you have the. Sorry for that.
I'm surprised I'm not actually today. I feel kind of embarrassed that I'm not. But.
So you have full reign. We're glad to see the school spirit here on this show. Olivia, I did want to ask you a question about the Bengals offense to start. Obviously, kind of came out of the gate slow, not terrible, but the couple of early losses they had in the year, you could point to, okay, well, where's the offensive production like we saw last year during their Super Bowl run? Now, got 27 points in the last couple of games. It has obviously led to wins for them. What was the deal? Well, is it just they needed time to warm up? Was it Burrow not playing in the preseason? Just what was the difference from you covering this team? What do you think the difference was between those early losses in the season and then the couple of wins that they've gotten since?
Yeah, everyone chill out. It wasn't Burrow's appendix that was making him this star player. I don't think it was Burrow. I think it was the O-line needed time to gel. And honestly, they've been pretty transparent about it. I spoke to Ted Karras about it, actually, I think after game 2, and he said, we don't know each other's game day activities, like how we lead into each game, how we're communicating yet. And I think the preseason reps may change in the years to come in Cincinnati, because they were pretty honest about like, hey, we didn't get time to click. And that showed last Thursday night when the pass protection was out of this world, I think is how Joe Burrow described it. And that's when those explosive plays came, and that's how they beat the Dolphins, despite all of the other extenuating circumstances that were unfolding in that game as well.
Yeah, something else that's been wrong, I guess, or not working for the Cincinnati offense has been the running game, specifically Joe Mixon, a career low in yards per carry so far this season. But he's also getting a much heavier workload than he saw in years past, whereas guys like Chris Evans can barely see the field, only 6 snaps on the year for him. Is there any plans to maybe start giving him some rest, start cutting back his workload, given that he has struggled to be efficient on such a high volume of carries, on pace for almost 350 rushes this season?
I actually did ask Zach Taylor this too. Is there any chance that you're going to start splitting some snaps between him? And it was actually after Samaje Perine had a decent game, or at least decent production compared to the workload that Joe Mixon saw in no yards per carry. I think he's averaging 2.7 and then yards per carry per game, and has the highest workload in the NFL out of all 52 running backs. And Zach Taylor said, no, we're comfortable with where we're at. Everyone knows what they're responsible for, what they're doing, and we're comfortable with where they're at. Joe Mixon did tell us this week he actually called a meeting with the O-line to make sure everyone was on the same page. And I think as the offensive struggles were unfolding in Cincinnati, everyone thought the run game would lead to these explosive pass plays. And now I think everyone is kind of maybe backpedaling and thinking the other way of maybe these explosive plays will open up the run game for Joe Mixon. Obviously, there are a lot of question marks. It's year 6 for him. How much shelf life is left with Joe Mixon. He's a great guy. You hate to say it. We had a special leading up to our Sunday night game last night. I'm trying to find my number. And, here it is. Lamar actually has about 84 more rushing yards than Joe Mixon on 54 fewer carries.
Wow.
Which is a little staggering when you think about that's Cincinnati's running back, right? That's their lead back, and that's who they're not straying from at this point, or at least they're not saying out loud that they're going to stray from him.
Well, you mentioned you just brought up Lamar, and obviously that's a huge X factor. Lamar Jackson's an X factor in every game that he plays. But Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals, I mean, he is coaching his butt off. He was last year as well, but now Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard up front, those guys playing really well. They're getting turnovers in the secondary. It just feels like this Bengals team, is playing about as well as they want to. They're very in groove, and that's not something that's very common with the defense to start the year. They're top 10 in so many different categories. What's the plan going into this week? What have coaches been saying, players been saying about how you go up against Lamar Jackson, how you try to contain him, how you try and play him as best you can?
Cheeto, like always, eats his bag of Cheetos in the locker room and said, you don't try and stop him. You try to slow him down and keep him in the pocket. I know that's everyone's plan of attack for Lamar, and it's easier said than done. But if anyone can do it, it's Lou, who, by the way, is probably the most enjoyable conversation each week. He has some of the best quotes, and unfortunately, we can't put a lot of it on TV. But that should spell it out for you. He's a great listen. Their defensive coordinator is a stud, and it's wild. They haven't given up a second half touchdown yet. And if the Ravens play anything like they did last week, that's probably a scary stat for everyone in Baltimore, knowing that they've been coughing up some leads. And the Bengals have dug themselves in some holes and had to overcome a lot of leads. So I think it's everyone's plan of attack for Lamar is just try and keep him in the pocket. But easier said than done. They've done it several times against him, which I think is the good thing. But Burrow knows on the other side, the Baltimore defense is playing pretty well as well. And he said they have one of the best corner duos that they've faced all season. So I think, it seems X's and O's, but it's not when it's Lamar. And we all know that.
So if you were to pick any player in this game to have kind of a breakout sort of game, someone who's been, maybe having a lull this season, who would you say for the Bengals? Who is it this time to shine here in Week 5?
So I'm an Indiana native, and you already dropped this name earlier. Chris Evans is who I'm waiting for to have a breakout game. He hasn't been able to return a kick this season. I mean, everyone has been touchback. So he's just been standing back there waiting. It was his birthday yesterday or 2 days ago. It's his time to shine. He's who I picked on our pregame show as well. But I think this guy, he's been waiting for, I think, his special teams responsibility workload to increase. And it's not that he's not out there. It's just he's not getting a touch or a chance to shine. And I think once he breaks free in special teams, maybe they'll give him a look. Like you said, maybe he'll have a chance to carry the football and let Joe Mixon get some rest.
There we go. Chris Evans is the X factor.
Yeah. I hope so.
I mean, that would be. I would love so too. So Olivia,
he's my breakout player, not X factor.
Okay, breakout player. Okay, sorry. Well, I would love for her to be right either way, so we can have her back on the show, and then she can do a victory lap and she can brag about it. Well, that is Olivia Ray.
I will too.
Everybody follow her on Twitter, Olivia Ray TV. If you're in the Cincinnati area, check out WLWT and all her great coverage that she has for the Cincinnati Bengals. Olivia, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Let's get people out here with some money. You said, look, hey, you out here bragging that you're making people money on the prop column.
I'm just saying it has made money.
And so, well, one, you saying it out loud means that we're about to go the complete opposite direction, and the universe is going to make you pay for it. But your $5 Friday, if you're new here on Fridays, what we do is we throw $5 into a 3-leg parlay. And we say, you know what? Just go wild with it. Go have some fun. Maybe you hit it huge. You went all prop bets for your $5 Friday here.
Last week was a dog lay. This is a prop lay.
Mine is also a dog lay.
And it's via courtesy of the prop com. So I mentioned one of them, the Baker Mayfield under. And then we're going to that under 0.5 passing touchdowns. He says one in every game this year, but he's facing the top defense in the NFL in e-paper play against. Top defense in terms of coverage grade, PFF. And I'm also going to this Texans running back.
Oh, an under? Boo!
Pep Hamilton said, because Rex Burkhead the past 3 weeks has been on the field for 60 pass plays and 4 rushes. He said he wants to get a little more balance to that running back room.
Boo.
So I think you're going to see more carries for Rex Burkhead, fewer receptions.
Yeah.
That means fewer carries for Dameon Pierce, lighter workload. They're going to be behind. They're 7-point dogs. They're going to have to pass, which means I think Dameon Pierce doesn't go over his 83.5 rushing receiving yard prop, and we hit both of those unders.
God, you got 3 unders?
That's how you prop it up, dude.
Bro.
Under props is the
Do you hate fun?
It's just the way to ride. I mean, that's why most people, I mean, under props are a very winnable game because most people want to think that good things are going to happen. Whereas a lot of times ends up being like Nyheim Hines. Like you get the running back, especially, you get hurt, and your unders hit a lot more than
Daniel said Mike Under instead of Mike
Renner. I'll take it.
So
that's my nickname.
You're Mike Runder now, I guess, for everything. The DT Dynasty said that the Pierce slander will not be tolerated. I absolutely agree with it. I'm going absolute underdogs on this one. I think I'm trying to set a record for biggest payout that I possibly can on a 3-leg parlay every single week. I got Dallas Cowboys money line. Okay,
yeah,
starting strong there. I like this. This is plus 200, plus 200 out in LA, and I genuinely think that they have the opportunity to win this game. I think it's going to be close. I think it might come down to the last possession, whatever it is. This game's going to be a lot closer than we think because of the Cowboys defensive line going up against a putrid Los Angeles Rams offensive line. I got the Bengals money line as well. It's in Baltimore. They're a road team. Divisional game. Bengals offense is hitting it. Lou Anarumo is coaching one hell of a defense this year, and so I think that anytime that's the case, again, this is a recipe for this to be a close game with them as a road team. Throw some money on it. Lions, money line.
Are they really plus 145? Have I just been sleeping under a rock?
Money line.
Against the Pats?
It's on the road.
I know it's on the road,
their defense is terrible. Did I miss this? Did I write this down wrong?
But they're not.
I don't think I did.
I'm going to look right now.
I don't think I did.
Okay, they are.
They're money line, 145.
I got to ride with you on that one.
Number one offense in the NFL. Come on.
Yeah, I got to ride.
You put $5 on this bad boy, you're walking away with 90 cold, hard smackers.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I like that one. I like that all.
This is better than last week's, I got to say. Daniel said the Lions scare me. I mean, in real life, yeah, Lions scare me.
Yeah. 1v1 a Lion. No thanks.
Yeah, it wouldn't be great.
Yeah.
What's more scary? You having to bet on the Lions defense or an actual Lion?
I don't know. I'm not surviving either way. So
okay, question of the day was Russell Wilson threw for 4 turnover-worthy plays last night against the Indianapolis Colts. What is his career high in turnover-worthy plays for a single game? I went with 6. You went with 5.
It better not be that stupid NFC Championship game because he played like shit in that game and they still won, but I hope it's not. Continue.
We know it's not going to rival Eli Manning, Rex Burkhead, and Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. 9s. I don't think so. That's tough. It's a special night when you put up 9.
Oh, wait. Starter Kit said, Trevor, I love your parlay. I would just exchange the Lions pick with the Lions-Pats game going over.
Yeah.
Yeah, but are those worse odds? Because I'm out here risking it. I'm going into the weekend wearing a leather jacket, slicking my hair back. Got a toothpick.
That is risking it.
We're risking it. Okay. What is it? What's the answer? Let's hear the answer, Quinn. What do we got here?
Trev, you should have put $5 on it because it is 6.
Oh, it was 6. Which game?
All the way back in 2017, Week 9 against Washington. I do not remember that game, but I looked it up.
Couldn't tell you either. He did have 6.
He had a stinker against the Packers. I think his career low passing grade was against the Packers last year.
Oh,
but did not have 6 turnover-worthy plays.
You know what I need?
That's a lot. 6 is a lot.
6 is a lot. 6 is a lot. And I needed this after us getting whooped in trivia yesterday.
Well done.
I needed this. This is a confidence booster to take me in the weekend and make sure that we have a good weekend. Hopefully you guys have a good weekend as well. Thank you so much for joining the show, getting in on the chat. This week we had a lot of chat-centric, chat-involved segments, and you guys were fantastic. We promise we're going to do as many of those as possible because that is when the show is so much fun. Enjoy the college slate that we got coming up tomorrow. Enjoy the NFL slate that we got on Sunday. Mike and I are going to be back right here on this desk to talk about all of it at 11 a.m. right here on PFF's YouTube. Thanks for watching It's Just Football. We'll see you then.
It's not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. He's just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
I just get in and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.